Here are 5 key matchups to watch when the 49ers face the Eagles in Philadelphia on Sunday. 1, you know where I'm going with this. Colton McKivitz versus Hassan Reddick. These two didn't match up in January when the 49ers and Eagles faced in the NFC Championship because the right tackle was Mike McGlinchey, and the 49ers wanted to block Hassan Reddick with a tight end because they think that little of him, or thought that little of him. Remember, he played the first 4 seasons of his career with the Cardinals, where he wasn't much of a playmaker, and I guess the Niners sort of made up their mind that he wasn't good and wanted to prove that, and were proven wrong. So now this year they need to actually block Hassan Reddick with an offensive tackle. They tried with a backup tight end, didn't go so well. Now, try with a starting right tackle. Not that that's even a matchup advantage for the 49ers. Colton McKivitz is I'm going to be generous to call him a serviceable right tackle. And he fits the 49ers run scheme in the sense that they run to the left all the time, and he's on the right, and he's not really at the point of attack, and he's there. So he fits. But in pass protection, he really struggles with speed off the edge, and Hassan Reddick might be the fastest edge rusher in the league. He's got a very, very quick first step. Think D Ford 5 years ago, but better. So the key for the Niners here is to not let this matchup happen one-on-one. It's got to be Colton McKivitz plus a tight end and a running back against Hassan Reddick. Or they can let Reddick do what he did to the Niners last year, which was end their season. 2, Travarius Ward versus A.J. Brown. Last week, the Niners made Travarius Ward follow DK Metcalf all over the field, wherever he lined up. Metcalf could not avoid Travarius Ward. The Seahawks could not put him on any other corner. The Niners dictated the matchup. They didn't let the Seahawks dictate the matchup, and Travarius Ward did a great job. Broke up 3 passes, no penalties, really kept DK Metcalf in check. Now he's got to do it again against A.J. Brown. I asked Steve Wilks this week about A.J. Brown, what makes him a handful, and he immediately compared him to DK Metcalf, which to me is code for watch us do the same thing to A.J. Brown that we did to DK Metcalf. In the NFC Championship game in January, Travarius Ward held A.J. Brown to 28 yards. There was some penalties mixed in. And, the Niners were out of the game immediately, so the Eagles didn't really have to do much through the air or at all. But Ward has had some success against A.J. Brown in the past, and if he can do to Brown what he did to DK Metcalf, the Niners are in business. Difference is Jalen Hurts holds the ball a lot longer than Geno Smith. So Travarius Ward's going to have to cover A.J. Brown longer, 3-4 seconds, than he did with DK Metcalf. 3, Brandon Ayuk versus Darius Slay. I have no idea how the Eagles are going to approach their defensive game plan, but the Niners probably should have Travarius Ward shadow A.J. Brown, and the Eagles probably should have Darius Slay shadow Brandon Ayuk, because Darius Slay is the only good corner the Eagles have. He's good. He's 32, but he's still really, really good. And if they've done their homework, they've realized that Brandon Ayuk is the Niners' go-to guy in the pass game. Not Debo, not Kittle, not McCaffrey. It's Ayuk. He's the guy you have to stop, and if you don't, you're going to lose. So if the Eagles are smart, that's the matchup. Slay follows Ayuk all over the field. And that doesn't mean Ayuk won't win, but he'll have a real battle there. And if Slay can sort of erase Brandon Ayuk, the Niners are in trouble, but I don't think anyone can erase Brandon Ayuk. That's a real key matchup to watch. In the last game, Slay got away with a lot of holding penalties, it looked like on television. Maybe against Brandon Ayuk, he won't get that respect because, frankly, Ayuk's better than him. 4, Deebo Samuel versus James Bradberry. Okay, Bradberry is the number 2 cornerback for the Eagles, and after the Eagles beat the Niners last year, Deebo Samuel was so upset about it, he went on the record and said James Bradberry is quote-unquote trash. Okay, Deebo, now you have the chance to prove it. The Eagles most likely will deploy their number 1 cornerback on the Niners' number 1 wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, because that's smart. Deebo Samuel, not nearly the wide receiver, the route runner that Brandon Ayuk is, so they're probably going to put the Eagles, their number 2 cornerback on him, who Deebo Samuel says is trash. So according to Deebo, this is a huge matchup advantage for the 49ers. It's going to be interesting to see if Deebo can get open against a quote-unquote trash cornerback, because Deebo hasn't been the best route runner in the last few years. He's very good after the catch, but the Eagles are good at tackling and not giving up yards after the catch. Deebo has a great opportunity to prove himself right and show that James Bradberry is as trash as he says. But Deebo's going to have opportunities because Ayuk has a real tough matchup. Deebo, according to Deebo, doesn't. So let's see Deebo have a big game. 5, George Kittle versus Kevin Byard. Eagles are pretty banged up over the middle. They're linebackers are out, and they had to trade for Kevin Byard before the trade deadline. Byard's a veteran safety, and he used to be good, but on the Eagles this year, he's given up a passer rating of 115 when targeted. Now he has to cover George Kittle, who's just having a phenomenal season. The Niners don't always feed him a lot of targets because he's getting older and they want to pace him and make sure he's healthy for the playoffs, but he has such a huge matchup advantage here. Brandon Ayuk doesn't. Deebo Samuel says he does, but we'll see. George Kittle absolutely does. And I wouldn't be surprised if, George Kittle, maybe he's not responsible for moving the Niners down the field all day, but when they get to the red zone, he's got to be the target. Look for Kittle to have multiple touchdown catches in this game if the Niners are going to win.